And the whole discussion around ethical sourcing is very important. And as we talked earlier about how the store can and should really tap into as many aspects of the institution's strategic plan as possible, almost all institutions have part of that strategic plan being around ethical sourcing, sustainability, as Denise said. And so we think the vendor community that we have partners with at the conference and year-round that services the college store market has a lot of products in that area. And so that becomes a real opportunity for them to tap into that institutional strategic plan in a very good way that students really appreciate.
And I think that's something, from our side, when we look at an institution, maybe they have that sustainability or comprehensive sustainability plan or something along those lines, there's ways that we can help address that internal need that you talked about earlier and align products that meet the needs of a plan that's been rolled out from the highest levels of the university. It's always interesting to see how those trends can align with the missions of the university at a given time.
And I think as we move forward, you're seeing an increase in those sustainable products being available and at a price point people can afford. Because I think we've been talking about green probably for the past 20 years, but we're actually seeing it utilized more and more. And again, I think you're right. It's about who's in college now and who's purchasing and things like that. But we're even seeing that uptick of people requesting it, needing it, wanting it to be a part of their solution set. And I love that as a trend because it is something that is probably just going to grow. Because when we think about a lot of hot trends, when I'm asked that question, I think of the season we're in. We just got a trend box in today, and it's really focused on more like festival, summery type things. But I love to see a trend that really has legs and just will continue a wave even as it evolves.
Even our vendors are really standing behind that in a different way. So, 20 years ago, they might have offered a recycled item along with all their other products, right? And it certainly was a much higher retail. But now we're hearing from vendors where they're even considering, they're seeing a lot of interest and momentum with those recycled products, and that they're actually considering replacing their standard line or a particular item in the standard line for just a recycled item. So that will just kind of take away like that side by side. And because there is more acceptance for understanding that, and that comes through education. That's something that the stores can do, that the vendors are doing and trying to educate the consumer as to the importance. We know there might be some additional cost to those products, but there's also added good and benefit to if you support those versus something that's not.
Yeah. And to the earlier point, it connects back to what the marketplace is telling you. If the students want this, if the alumni want it, it makes sense to find the answer to the question that you're being tasked with as a store. And I guess to that point, you're going to see a lot of trends come up on college. Not all of them are going to be maybe appropriate. How do you offer guidance to stores when they're engaging with the community and how to navigate those niche needs that come up on a campus, if it is something that makes sense to retail, or if it is something that maybe doesn't make sense?
Yeah, one of the things that we encourage our members to do is, and this actually came back in the 80s when I was at the store, Apple did this as an exercise. They would take, everyone kind of knows this, the PDF map of the campus, and they would just have you print it out and set it on the table, and they would say to you, circle 3 or 4 areas where you're not sure what's going on, but there might be opportunity. And all of a sudden, it was a really good exercise because all of a sudden you say, yeah, I don't really, what's important to this group over here in the Baker building? What's important to this group over here? And so I think what we're encouraging our members to do is, look, you may have slight declines in enrollment. You may have less traffic in your store because you're going with digital course materials. You've done a great job driving affordability and student success. That's great. Good job. So what can you do? And so when you start to think about opportunities like that, you start to say you can engage your student employees and say, what's going on campus? What's important? What are the student groups that are emerging? Is it esports? Is there a sustainability club? Are there other areas where you could see solve a problem? We talk about that. What's a problem out there that the store could solve? Are there departments on campus that are running events? that really that's not in their wheelhouse, that you could come in and solve that for them. So I think it takes a bit of a proactive sort of creative thinking approach to take a look at your campus holistically as a whole, and then start to say, what do we do well, and what needs or problems are out there that we can solve? So it does take some proactivity. You can't just do the same old. You have to be a little more active to say, where are these opportunities? But you can get insights from your student employees. You can take a walk across campus and see what brands are out there. Denise and Mitchell are very sensitive to this when they meet with all those vendors to say, who has products in the story that taps into this? So at ICBA, we hope to send that stimulation and be a catalyst to the members. We also get a lot of recommendations from our members that say, hey, you guys should consider this for a national program. So when we're really working well, we have that two-way street going. Members say, hey, this is working for us. You should roll out to everybody. We're trying to keep our eyes and ears open, but we're encouraging our members, be proactive. Ask yourself what problems you can solve out there.
I love that. And you think about ways that you're solving problems, ways that you're evolving how you engage with the campus, with consumers. Digital and online continues to be something that grows and evolves just along that conversation. So how do you see that changing or enhancing, I should say, the campus store experience and the campus experience?
Yeah, so I think that most of our stores, if we were all being honest, would say we need to up our game a little bit on the e-commerce side. So I think we need to think about more mobile commerce, and that's on us too, to help them with better tools. How can they engage the customers more? How can they build more repeat business and keep a dialogue going, whether it's, getting into more TikTok and Instagram and less Facebook and things like that, whether it's social media, tapping into where they are. So I think it's being someone who's relevant, stepping up. We have an initiative that we call VOICE, VOICE, the value of independent college store excellence, so VOICE. And it's just really been something for about 3 years that we've said we want to help our members have their voice be heard more on campus, both the value that they bring to the institution, the value and opportunities they bring to students. You have a lot of square footage now that used to be racks of textbooks. Well, how can you use that to help not just your sales and your profits, but help the campus solve problems like that? So it's an evolving thing. We don't have this solved. It's us exchanging ideas. It's what our community does well, especially at the conference, as you both know very well. We all exchange ideas. Who's got a piece of the puzzle? How can we bring all those pieces together? So sometimes we say at ICB, our job is to pull those pieces together and make the puzzle and highlight that for our members.
I think from an e-commerce standpoint, you also have to make it easy. So try not to make it so complicated, not so many clicks. And I know that our members are looking for those kinds of enhancements to their sites so that they can really make that experience better for them. But when you talk about the in-store experience, I think that it's all about really engaging with the customer and, finding ways to get them to come and hang out, if you will.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always mean that every store is going to have room or space for like a seating area, or that will be even necessarily productive for them. But I think that they have to find reasons students, Gen Z in particular, but people in general, they want to come in and experience that. So give them that experience. So that doesn't mean so that means engaging with them. And I know that we use that term a lot, like engagement. But, listen to what people are doing. It may or may not pertain to what they're shopping for. They might not be shopping for anything. Listen to, what they might need in the future. Ask them more personal questions, not too personal, but, make friends is what, because and recognize them, when you get to know someone, you might not know them even, because you see them regularly. So really kind of that's what the engagement part is about. And I think that has to continue to be exciting. Also, another great example of how stores are, what we're seeing in the industry, what we're experiencing all as consumers, but at University of Pittsburgh, they've recently added some new technology that makes it super easy for you to shop at their basketball arena store, which is basically it's the Just Walk Out technology from Amazon. And And that allows them just to literally walk in, shop, experience that, and then walk out. And it's literally paid for. I don't know if any of you have experienced that yourself with.
I have not personally. I've seen it, and it blows my mind how it works. So this is really cool that it's being applied within the collegiate retail space.
And Georgia Southern has it in their convenience space. And so we're seeing more and more. But so I think looking at what's happening inside on the campus, as Jon said, like what are the needs? What are people looking for? But also like, what are we experiencing, self-checkout, the just walk out technology, like, because if we make it easy and fun, then and people feel good when they're in the space.
That's a win.
Yeah, then they're going to come back. Yeah. They're going to remember it and they're going to come back. And so I think that there's definitely different things to think about when you think of online versus in store. They're certainly connected though. People are shopping online to get ideas or to double check and then coming in store because they still want to touch it or feel it.
And that engagement and how that looks. Because you're right, asking the questions, communicating so important. One of my favorite college stories is I had a friend who operated a campus store. They were next to the pool. They carried nothing for the pool. They didn't have towels. They didn't have anything. And it was the number one question every day.
Sunglasses.
Yes. And so finally someone says, why don't you carry this? And it was just that aha moment of, oh my goodness, why don't we carry that? And so that was a great revenue generator, but it also made the community happy because everyone forgets something when they were coming through. So having those unique needs, but then that whole social media aspect and how do you connect with that? I never thought that making TikToks would be part of a career need, but it obviously, you have so many influencers, you have those influencers on campus. Often those influencers are coming through your store. So it is such a weird space to be in to try to connect with those folks. But it still all circles around what does that engagement look like? How do you appease? How do you listen? I just find it fascinating that asking a simple question can change the whole outcome of what something looks like.
So we want to help with that. And we know that in that situation, I don't think for a second that store was asleep at the wheel or making a bad business decision. They're so incredibly busy, right?
Yep.
And you just miss things, right? Nobody can see it all. And so we developed something a couple years ago as part of that voice initiative called the Healthy Store Checklist. And it's simply 5 or 6 pages of bullets. And it's not meant to be do everything day one. It's meant to be take it bit by bit. One part of it is about campus relations. One part is about operational excellence. One part of it is about general merchandise, course materials, marketing, e-commerce. And just by using that and taking a look and saying, hey, yeah, maybe this will be some ideas that we can generate. We know our stores are so busy. They have to wear so many hats. They've also had staff reductions, right? That work smarter, not harder. We all can say, forget about it after a while with that, right? So sometimes you need a friend to help you and a team to help you with some ideas. So in our world, the ICBA community is the team that can help you. In the next few weeks, we have, I think, 17 different networking calls where we get members together. And all we do is we sit back at ICBA, we sort of tee up a few topics, but we let them exchange ideas. And so that we offer that healthy store checklist. If a store says, I'm sort of in a rut, what should I do? We'll offer that. But really the stores, when they help each other, they exchange ideas. Houseplants, houseplants have been all the rage the last year. Tennessee's doing it. Carnegie Mellon's doing it. Every store you talk to says, I'm having success with houseplants. Well, you might not have heard about that unless a trusted peer said that. So we think the strength of that community will help with that, and hopefully stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. So whether it's our Healthy Store Checklist or them communicating and networking with other members, we hope that'll help them.
Well, and that's why you have to empower your people too. So empower your staff. Listen to your students. When you're looking for fresh ideas or need to figure out a solution, give it to somebody and let them figure it out. They're probably going to look at it in a different way and come up with a solution that could be very effective and potentially save money, save time, and certainly please customers. And so we should, take advantage of that. But as Jon said, that's one of the benefits of ICBA that our members tell us over and over is they love the ability to be able to talk to each other and learn. They're not competing with each other. They can really collaborate and solve things together.
I mean, that's honestly the approach we have within our sales team, is that collaboration with your peers and understanding and learning from them where they're finding success within a campus. It's the same model where you have that environment of just learning from folks in your shoes in the same capacity. So I love that. I think that's a great approach and a great resource. And you talk about the power of networking. That's exactly what that is.
Well, and one of the learnings that I've had just throughout my career, having gone from traditional retail to the corporate chain retail for college, and then now working for the last 10 years with independent stores, is that that the individuals in the store only know what somebody else taught them. So they either figured it out on their own, or their predecessor said, here's how you do this. And so that's one of the things that I love about our role at ICBA, is that engagement and interaction with our members and all of their staffs, is to be able to share some of additional insights and education, professional development to some degree, to be able to help them, because they may not have worked with another buyer who buys, apparel. They only worked with their predecessor, and now that person's gone and there's not another apparel buyer in the store. I had the benefit of working in large corporations that had multiple people like you have here, right? So I think that's always resonates with me when I'm talking to stores and feeling like this is how I can give back, is to help them understand and give them a broader perspective on things from a professional development standpoint, only because I had the benefit of working in industries that gave me that, and they just need someone to help with that guidance and that mentoring, if you will, so that they can continue to grow in their role.
Yeah, and I mean, I circle this back to what we were talking about earlier with the evolving landscape on a campus. And to this point, if you have change in leadership on a campus, maybe that store now is tasked with navigating a sustainability plan that they didn't have to before. And they have peers across their network that have navigated that. Just an example of how your network in this as a resource, as an independent operation, can be such a tool and a resource for you.
Yeah.
Do you guys have mentor-mentee programs?
Yeah, we've started developing that in our. That's a big focus for the next couple of years. We started last year at this past year's conference. Peter Neff from Arizona, who has been a very engaged ICBA member but is a little newer to the college store industry, said a year ago to me, he said, "Oh, the conference was great. I really enjoyed it, but it took me a little while to kind of get acclimated. Maybe you could have some sort of program." So it just takes one member with a good idea. And we said, heck yeah. So this year, if you were a first-time manager director, we teamed you up with a more experienced manager and director who reached out to you and said, hey, why don't you join me for breakfast, maybe the first day, the morning sessions. And we've created something called the Content Expert Referral Network, CERN. And so we said, hey, if you have particular expertise, maybe you know about social media, maybe you're a financial whiz, maybe you know all the ins and outs of NetSuite. If you'd be willing to spend 15, 20 minutes with an ICBA member, can we refer you to them? So sort of that mentor network. And it's Mel Marzan has been sort of coordinating it for us, our director of marketing and communications, and it's grown. And of course, our members love that, right? They're so happy to help. And so we're building that network so that we can say, there's a new sustainability initiative, just your example. Hey, we can refer you to 2 people that have just implemented that. They can give you some tips. Oh, you've just come back to self-operation from being lease operated. Great. We have some people that can get you up and running. So yes, I would say that it's newer, but it's a big area of focus. And I think we can all see the value that can provide.
And then we've even created these, for lack of a better term, affinity groups where we're bringing some of our members together. We're really helping to coordinate, but we actually it's member led, and so we have 2 groups right now: the NetSuite group, and then we have the Apple group. And so what this is there's individuals from our membership who agreed to be leaders and to help bring together other members who have interest in learning more about solving problems with with those areas, just learning more about what other stores are doing as it relates to those areas. And so those have been working really well. We do participate, but mostly more in the background. We're just there to help if something comes up. But it's really great to see how they are working together to help each other. And that's invaluable when you see that. And there's some really great exchange of ideas in those forums.
The principle we have is the solutions to the problems we face are within the community. Can we bring them together and make them into a cohesive story? We know they're out there. We know people have solved it individually. Can we make some sense of it so we can share it to everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think through the network that exists and how you can bridge those conversations, to me, that's one of the biggest assets you guys have across independent operation, is because you have that autonomy within the store to do things to solve the problem. And to this mentee-mentor conversation, that's a huge, huge resource there.
So one of the ways we put it is that, what if, let's all just imagine here for a moment, what if you could have some of the benefits of a chain where you could get some trend watching, some benchmarking, some centralized expertise, some coordination of events, but you could still control your own destiny locally to make all the decisions for what you want to do and not do, how you want to price things, what you want to bring in and not bring in. Wouldn't that be great? You could have the benefits of the national chain resources that you may not have locally, but you still fully control your own destiny, and you get to tap into a network of trusted peers. And that's what I think the promise of ICBA is for our community. And we just want to serve them as well as they serve their own institutions. But we think that's not just a dream. We think that's a reality, that you can take advantage of that national organization to support you, but control your own destiny, tap into other trusted peers, and that's the winning formula.
So how are you getting that message? What's your upcoming conference schedule look like, or interactions?
Yeah, so we are very engaged with the industry. And so we have a number of state and regionals that are coming up. Actually, Jon will be heading out to Tri-States next week. But that's one way, is it gives us a chance to engage with, in many cases, there are many of those individual schools who participate are members of ICBA, but some are not. But we're there to give education. We're there to provide insight as an industry expert, if you will. But then we're also just having that opportunity for one-on-one engagement, sharing more about what programs we offer, what are the partners that we're using. We recently sent out, as part of our membership renewal program campaign, a savings report. So we actually provide to each of our members a custom report so that they can see like who they're working with, but also who they're not working with. And I have to tell you, right after those went out, one store comes to mind where she was literally following up with some of our vendor AVPs, our annual vendor partners, and saying, hey, I want to make sure I got my benefit or savings because I'm not sure. It says on here that this is my benefit. Then she just happened to copy me on all her communications. And these were individual emails. One to a vendor where she just recently bought something from them. She's, hey, in case you didn't know, I'm an ICBA member. Did I get my benefit applied to this order I just wrote with you? So that's exactly what we want. We want them to be informed. And so the state regionals help us to do that. The savings reports help us to do that. And then, of course, we have our upcoming conference in 2025. I'll let Jon kind of talk about, what that's going to look like.
Yeah, so for us, the annual conference is our signature event of the year. It's when the kind of big three services we talk about are the vendor programs and partnerships, networking and collaboration, and education and professional development. And those three come together, and we put them on steroids, hopefully, at the conference for a big focus area. And we've been very humbled by you're one of our main partners, and many others in the stores. We've set consecutive records over the last few years of bigger and bigger attendance, and people seem to be very excited about Chicago. We've got an affordable hotel rate. It's a beautiful hotel. It's right at the beginning of the Magnificent Mile, one of the great retail shopping districts in the world, actually. And so we're starting, our process starts in the next couple of weeks, hard at work to recruit great general session speakers, make sure our exhibitor partners know what's going on so that they can shine and show their message and tell their message. And we think what's unique this year is that with all the turmoil in the industry, we do think that quite a few campuses will be going back to self-operation. And so I'm not going to put a prediction on it, but it could be dozens. Okay. And so therefore we want to welcome those stores into the industry, into the self-operated industry, help them feel successful, get them tied in with some mentors. So during the fall, we'll do some additional webinars on various topics. We'll have another series of networking calls in November, and hopefully it'll all culminate in Chicago in February, early February 2025 with another great conference. And again, Club Colors, you guys have been an incredible sponsor and supporter of that. So we'll be hoping that you can tell your story, because we think it's a great story. We think it's a story that our members need to listen to as well.
Well, thank you, Jon.
You're welcome.
Myra and I have always enjoyed presenting at the conference. It's a great conference and a great opportunity to network, just as you had mentioned. But it sounds like, dozens of stores potentially moving around. This looks like a pivotal moment possibly for ICBA. Are there other pivotal moments throughout time that have influenced how you service campuses and the approach that you bring to the table as an organization?
I think so. I think when we relocated, the ICBA's been around for 98 years. I'm very proud to have this opportunity to lead such a proud organization, but since 1927, so incredible. But in 2015, ICBA had a leadership change. Stacy Waymeyer, who gets a ton of credit for taking ICBA from really a volunteer-run organization to a more professional organization. When it was time for him to retire, Fred Weber came in. Denise referenced him earlier, a tremendous leader and friend in the industry. And I think that's when ICBA, when I started, was around 130 members or so. We're now up to about 260, so about double, which is very a humbling thing. And that may not mean anything to any individual member. What it means to us, though, is that it gives us more resources and more ability to drive more programs. Combined, we're $1.4 billion now in buying power. So when Denise and Mitchell talk to vendors, that's a meaningful amount. And so I think that membership expansion and growth has really positioned us extremely well. And from an individual standpoint, I'll just add as CEO, with Denise Walsh and Sonda Udemark being such strong senior leaders within ICBA, it has freed me up so that I'm spending much more of my time speaking with administrators, being an advocate for self-operation of college stores, going to the auxiliary services, not just the national conferences, but regional conferences, not just going to the National Business Officer Conference, but regional conferences to help. We're saying we're playing a little more offense now. For years and years and years, we say we kind of played defense where, no, we don't want you to lease the store. And that was an okay message. But now we're playing offense. We're saying, no, self-operation is a better way to do it. We have partners that'll help you succeed. We have a strong community. And so I think this is a pivotal moment for ICBA as we look out over the next couple of years to have us be even louder and prouder on behalf of our members to ensure that self-operation is viewed as a preferred operating model and not where lease operation over the last 5, 10, 20 years was viewed as maybe the better model. And we're fighting back to say, no, self-operation is the better way to go.
And I'm also hearing from the vendor community, so our partners, in that, many years ago, having worked with them, some of them at Follett, there seemed to be this preference that it was easier for them to work with these corporations. But that's not what they're saying now. They actually prefer to work with the independent stores. They see more opportunity with the independent community. So they are also advocates for this industry and for the independent stores. And that's really exciting to see how that has shifted over the years.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a trend that is something that, over time, things have evolved, and we talked about that earlier, that evolving needs of a campus, the evolving needs of a campus store to engage with the campus. And I think this has been a great conversation on how the independent operation can help address all these things that exist on any given campus. So Jon, Denise, thank you so much for being in here today. Myra, it's always a pleasure to chop it up with you. And it's been great having you in the club.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
inviting us.
Awesome.
Awesome.